Hi, this is Claire from Berry Do Papery, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this card using the new Swans and Cattails stamp set from the Hero Arts 2018 Spring Catalog. This stamp set is particularly special to me because I designed it, so stay tuned till the end of the video because I'm going to be having a big giveaway. So there's lots of little images in this stamp set, so you can really create a pretty intricate scene. But I'm just going to be using one of the little baby swans and then the mama or papa swan, whatever you want it to be. And then I'm going to take all the cattails and then I'm going to stamp them using charcoal ink. And I'm using my Misty just so I can stamp these all at once. So I could have edited this part out. My first stamp impression with this was not very crisp. It was kind of weirdly uneven. And I realized it was because I had stamped these exact images here I'm like about 50 times for some creativation prep, so they were pretty dirty. So I just wiped them clean, then I came back and I turned my cardstock around and then I stamped them and then I got a nice impression. I cut out the part where I cleaned the stamps, but I did clean them and then I got a nice crisp impression. So just know that if you stamp the same image 50 times, it will get dirty after a while. I inked it up and stamped it twice just to get a nice extra thick look, but it wasn't necessary. I'm also using the new Hero Arts Radiant White cardstock, and I really like using this cardstock because it's got a very nice white index, which is kind of like the shade of the white it is. It's not creamy, but it's not like a blue garish white. And it actually works pretty well with just a little bit of watercolor. It's nice and heavyweight. I haven't tested it out a whole lot to see if you could do a little, if it would kind of work like Bristol paper and would be able to take even more watercolor than this. But it worked fine with just this little bit of watercoloring. Nice heavy weight and a very nice white. So how I'm coloring these in is I'm using the Distress inks. I'm using dried Marigold and cracked Pistachio. I just smushed them against the clear block, sprayed some water on them, and then I'm going in and coloring these images. Because it's watercolor, again, if you want to have a lighter color, then pick up less pigment or add more water. And if you want a darker color, pick up more pigment and use maybe a little bit less water. So after that, I just die cut these little guys and set them aside. I'm also using this fancy Florals frame die, and I'm going to use another piece of Radiant White cardstock, and then I'm going to just die cut this fancy die. I want to point out real quick that this die is very intricate, so you can't just pop the paper out. You kind of have to wiggle and maneuver it around. So after I have the die cut ready, I'm going to take a piece of cardstock that I've already cut down to an A2 card size, and I've scored down the center, and I'm just masking off the side so when I start blending, I don't get any ink on the back of the card. I'm arranging all my elements now just so I can get an idea of where I'm going to blend my inks. I'm going to be using two colors and they're going to be meeting at one point on the card, and so that I know where to make them meet, I have to set up all those elements beforehand because it's not exactly smack dab in the center of the card. So first I'm blending with cracked pistachio and I'm going to be doing the bottom of the card with that, and then I'm going to be using dried marigold for the top. So Bristol cardstock works pretty well with Distress inks. I find that watercolor cardstock, pretty much whenever you blend any inks, watercolor is pretty much the best for that. But Bristol is kind of the second best. In any case, I didn't blend this background particularly well, but I wasn't really worried about that because a lot of it was going to be covered up with the frame and then the swans and the sentiment. I just wanted something soft and subtle in the background, which this worked. And just to get a little bit of extra detail, even though it's not something you can see a whole lot of, I'd flick some water onto the background. I'm just using a water bottle that has some dirty water in there. And then just flicking that on the background and then picking up the water with a paper towel, and that picks up some of the ink and kind of leaves a little bokeh-ish background. So I would not recommend using dirty water because depending on how dirty it is, it will make your little bokehs not so pretty and will kind of stain them. But fortunately my water was dirty with the correct color, so it worked. All right, so I've die cut this heart from the Yes Stampin' Cut. And here I just want to show you real quick my little anti-static powder drawer. I have my pouch, I have my little brush, and then a plastic bag that's full of cornstarch. So normally I like to use the pouch. I don't like using the brush because I don't like the coverage it gets. It was the first one I got and I didn't really like it, but I just have it in there. So I usually use the pouch, but I put it in the same drawer with the cornstarch bag, and then the cornstarch kind of got everywhere. So sometimes when I would use the pouch, it would have a bunch of cornstarch on it already, so there'd be this big cloud of anti-static powder. I didn't want to deal with that, so I just used a paintbrush, and I picked up some of that and the cornstarch in the drawer and just brushed that over the heart, and then heat embossed my sentiment in white. So here I'm taking the frame, and I cut off the two little butterflies just because I wanted to give a little more space to the background, and I also wanted the creature focus to be on the swans, not any butterflies. I don't know, when I think of swans swimming around, I don't really think of butterflies too. So normally I would cut this out of the video as well, but I wanted to show you kind of the whole positioning process. And I started using this smaller adhesive, I forget what it's called, but I thought it would, you know, be less obtrusive in the video and easier to handle, but I didn't really like how the adhesive stuck with the die cuts on the ink background. I don't know if the ink background was maybe wasn't completely dry, which is why the adhesive wasn't working super well, but I ended up going back to my trusty big fat Scotch ATG gun. So I don't know, maybe I don't like the other one because I'm just so used to my pink gun. So anyway, I adhered everything down, and now I'm using the same cracked pistachio ink to stamp some little water ripples. It gives it just a nice little bit of extra detail that just, I don't know, kind of finishes off the card for me. And the swans, I adhered them using some dimensional adhesive, and I'm also going to use some of that dimensional adhesive behind the heart. And then more dimensional adhesive to make the frame pop up. But the adhesive I'll be using for the frame is some foam that already has adhesive on the background, and I'm going to cover the foam with my tape gun. I guess that's the tape gun, yeah. And I'm just going to cover that with adhesive, and then cut it into strips. If I cut it into strips and then try adding adhesive, it's a little harder to manage. So if I put my adhesive on first and then cut it down, it's a little bit easier to manage. And then I also, before I adhered that this little frame on, I have to make sure that I fold the card, otherwise it would be kind of annoying to have to fold that later. So just peel off all the backing and add some pearls to the card, and that finishes it off. So here's a final look at the card. Now, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that this is a stamp set that I've illustrated, and I have a big giveaway. So this blog hop, this catalog release, 2018 spring, marks a year of me being able to illustrate and design some stamp sets with Hero Arts. My first stamp set that I designed with them came out last year in the spring catalog. So it's going to sound really cheesy, but honestly, all of these stamp sets that I've been able to do, it wouldn't have been possible without your support and encouragement. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. So I wanted to kind of give back. So all of the stamp sets that I've been able to design this past year, I'm giving them away, and there'll be a link in the YouTube description for how to enter, but all the details are on my blog. So yeah, as cheesy as it sounds, thank you guys a lot. All the encouragement and support really means a lot to me. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments about this card, the supplies will be linked on the blog. They'll be listed in the YouTube comment description, or not comment description, just description box. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. God bless. Bye.